So I'm driving back from Boise to Portland for Thanksgiving in the Audi, and I just had a scary moment. Well, I've had two. The first one, I wasn't scary. It said I had an underinflated tire, so I thought, shit, I got a flat tire. And these tires are new. And we just replaced one last week, or this week actually, because it was out of round. I was like, damn, we got a flat tire already? Pulled over, checked. They were all fine. What happened was one of the tires was a little overinflated. And so the difference between that one and like the other one was significant that it thought it had a flat tire. It wasn't. I just had to equalize the pressure and it was fine. But that did scare me because I was on the side of the road for a little bit, checking the tires one by one and letting air out of them. I can also pump them up because these Audis come with an air pump, but it takes forever. So instead of pumping up the low tire, what I did is I just lowered the pressure of the other one and it was fine. And it wasn't low, it was just lower than the one that was high. So that was easy. But the really scary one I just had a few minutes ago was I had a low oil pressure warning, and I should have recorded it, but I was more concerned with, holy shit, do we have an oil leak? So I pulled over. There was a rest stop immediately, so I pulled over. I popped the engine cover. I looked everywhere. I didn't see oil anywhere underneath. I pulled out the dipstick, and it was right at minimum. I didn't have low oil pressure. That's the silver lining. At first, I got scared. I was like, oh, crap. I thought the engine just took a shit. But it wasn't oil pressure. It said oil quantity, and it was yellow, not red. So I pulled over. Luckily I have napkins in the glove box, and I checked it, and it was right at the minimum mark. So I just turned it off, just wiped off the dipstick, and just let it sit for a minute so the oil went back down. Then I checked it again, and it had oil on the stick. As soon as I turned the car back on, I didn't have the warning anymore. And then I drove another mile or two, not far, to there was a big rest stop with gas station with other stuff, and they didn't have exactly the oil that I needed for this car, but they did have heavy duty diesel oil that's on the back of it. I read the label, and it has all the certifications it's supposed to have for almost everything except Audis. But it did have Volvo and it had Mercedes, and I was like, well, if it's good enough for Volvos and Mercedes, and I'm just topping it off, I'm just adding a quart. That's all I did. I literally added 1 quart. That was it. And it seemed to be fine. Checked the tires again. The tires haven't changed. Hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully it can get us home the next 3 hours. And then we'll do a full oil change and we'll flush this oil. So far, this Audi is not happy that I'm driving her. It's not like the Porsche. It's comfortable and it rides nice. But in 1 week, I've had a bad tire, a bent wheel, one overinflated tire, and now an oil warning, all in 7 days. I hope we make it home. Even though we're still a pretty good far away from home, one good thing is I can see Mount Hood right there in the distance. So when you can see Mount Hood in the distance, that gives you a warm feeling that you're not too far away. I have to do this trip again in a week, going back to Boise, and then I'll do it back to Portland for Christmas and then come back in January. It's going to be a lot of back and forth driving. I don't have any warnings. I don't have any indication that anything's going wrong. I would have already had it already. If I pull over now to check the oil, all I'm probably doing is just killing time, because the oil is probably fine. Like I said, everything under the engine and the oil and the skid plates underneath and all the plastic parts and on top of the engine, there's no oil signs anywhere that oil is leaking. There's probably just a little bit low. I'm just gonna keep driving until I get home, and I'll check the oil when I get home, because my most important priority right now is getting home. I don't want to stop and the engine doesn't want to restart or something else. So the engine's running, all the temperatures are good, the coolant's good, the oil pressure's good. I'm just gonna keep on driving till I get home, and then we'll check. There's my baby, ready to go for a drive. Back in Portland
the next day.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It drives great, it looks great, but I just can't leave it alone. That's just how I am. I can't stop messing with things, even when they're great. I'm going to add a good ceramic coat to this car. I'm going to add Adams polished ceramic coat that's supposed to give it, I believe, a 9 or a 10H hardness. So I'm going, and I've was reviewing it and studying about it. It's actually a very thick coating, so the car needs to be completely clean and as good as you're going to get it before you polish it, before you use this ceramic coat. By the way, yes, that is me on Tail of the Dragon in North Carolina on a motorcycle. That was one of my first motorcycles. I've done it on 3 different motorcycles. That's just a side note. So I'm putting the car. I'm not putting it to stock. It's gonna look stock, but it's still tuned. Still has sport exhaust. It still has a couple other mods, and we're gonna keep those. But as far as looking stock, the other thing we're gonna do, we're going to reinstall the OEM steering wheel. Now, if you notice, this steering wheel looks different than it did the last time, and I'm gonna show you why. So what's different is this is the OEM. It's silver. It's that kind of a low gloss silver. Well, I didn't like the silver. I mean, it was okay. It had a great contrast, so I painted it black. It was a failed attempt because I didn't show you guys this over the summer. I painted it black, but it was this. All of this was gloss black, and after I put it in the car, it did not look well. I was like, oh my God, that doesn't not even, like, this was all shiny, shinier than the leather here, and it did not look well. So I don't know what video I was watching. I was watching something, and I realized that the airbag and this part of the steering wheel was flat colored. And I reached into my bag of stuff, and I had some flat paint, and I was like, well, let's paint it flat. So that's what we did. I painted it completely flat. It has a good contrast with the silver buttons, and it doesn't outshine the leather grip. So we're gonna reinstall that. I know it's controversial. A lot of people don't like this. They love the steering wheel that's in the car. Let's look at the steering wheel in the car. I agree. It is absolutely beautiful. Without a doubt. That is a gorgeous steering wheel. Let me turn on the light. With the carbon trim on it, it is absolutely gorgeous of a steering wheel. But you know what the steering wheel does not have? It does not have a secret button that I didn't know about when I took this off. Heat. This steering wheel has heat. It is a heated steering wheel. The harness for the heater, if you don't know, you have a harness that looks like this. These 2 little simple wires right here, those are your heat wires. See how they go into the steering wheel? And they go so it wires all the way around. That steering wheel gets pretty damn warm. It does not get hot, but it gets really warm. Why am I putting a heated steering wheel on my car? Well, as a lot of you know, if you've been watching me for a while, I now have a job in Boise, Idaho. It's wintertime in Boise, Idaho, which means snow, ice, below freezing temperatures, which main reason why the car is now winter ready, as I put in one of my videos. The car is winter ready, and part of the winter ready is getting the heated steering wheel back on the car. Now, I'll probably switch it back in the summer when it gets warm again and I don't need the heated steering wheel, or if I can find a multifunction heated steering wheel that's in the same style as what's already on there, then I'll probably do that. But for now, I think with the flat black, we'll install it and let's see how it looks. Right now, I have no idea how it's gonna look. And if it looks great, then you guys just watch this part of the video. If it looks terrible, that means you didn't see this part of the video. So if you're watching this part of the video right now, that's kind of a teaser. You know it looks pretty good and I left it installed. We'll see. That's super easy. I'll take you through it step by step. First thing you need to do is pop the frunk and disconnect your battery. If you haven't done this yet, lower your windows, because once you disconnect the battery, your window won't be able to go up or down. So you want your windows to be lowered. You can also just leave your door slightly open so that the window's not all the way up. Because if you close it with the battery connect, see how it goes up? Leave the door open, the window's down lower. I'll just leave the door completely open. And then disconnect your battery. And that way, if you open or close your door while you're doing this process, you're not trying to smash your window against the seal. I have a random cap. I just pulled this cap off one of the spray cans that I have in my toolbox. So when you pull this off, pull this off your negative terminal, and then put a cap or something on there so it doesn't make contact again. And then you leave that alone. Why do you want to disconnect the battery? Because you don't want an airbag blowing up in your face. Anytime you do the radio, the airbag, or anything in the dash, it's a good tip to disconnect your battery. So now I'm gonna let the energy dissipate because there are capacitors in the system that hold energy. So I'm gonna let the energy dissipate for a good 15 minutes. Go drink a coffee, go do something, go run in a quick little errand, do anything for a good solid 15 minutes. And then we're gonna come right back here and change the steering wheel. Super easy. So tools you're gonna need for this job: spare steering wheel. You don't need a drill. You could use a ratchet, but I use a drill with a little adapter on there so I can put a socket on it. Breaker bar, T55, and an extension, a T-handle or some other kind of pusher tool. I like to use a T-handle because it gives me something to grab when I'm pushing up. I'll show you how to use that in a second. And some kind of plastic card that, like this business card size. So don't forget, you've disconnected your battery. You have no inside lights. So you need some kind of external light source so you can see what the hell you're doing. Step number 1, look on the bottom side of your steering wheel. You'll find a little hole near, see that? You want to take your T-handle here and put it in that hole. If I'm looking at it, I can't do it. I gotta find the hole without looking at it. There we go, see? As long as I'm not looking at it, I find it. So you want the biggest tool you can put in there, but you don't want to force it. It needs to just go in naturally. And the point of this is you're going to push up on the spring of this and it's going to pop the airbag out. So let me try that. Might take you a couple times to do this. If you can't get it and you're trying to figure out how that works, take your spare steering wheel here and do the same thing. So let me just put that here for a second. Let's turn it. So find your hole in the bottom. Look through here. This is what you're trying to do. Push up on that bar and spring. See how it goes up? That's what you're trying to do. So if you push that up, the airbag can come out of these hooks and it'll pop right out. All right, I got it out. Totally got it out on the first try. Actually, I had to push in, and as I was doing it, and as I pushed in, it popped out. So the one thing I forgot was a teeny screwdriver. So pull your airbag out, and you have 3 connections. You have a ground cable, and then your 2 airbag connections. You can't get these wrong. They only go on one way. So let's pull off a ground cable first. That comes right off. Then take your little tiny screwdriver, just put it in there and just give it a little twist. You don't need a lot of force. See, it pops off. Like that. You'll hear and feel the click as it unlocks. It's a double click to unlock. And then these will just pop out. You don't need a screwdriver to pop these off. Pop these off by hand. And they come off just like that. And they are color coded, so you can't get this wrong. Then take your airbag and put it aside, because you don't need that anymore. Now you need a T55. And this is why you need an extension, because you got to go all the way down in there. So put your extension on, put your T55 on there. Or if you have a triple square, I don't know what bit that is, but if you have a triple square, that'd be good. And then that's how you're going to get it loose. Before you take the steering wheel off, try to get this as straight as you can. Unfortunately, the lock only works at 45-degree angles, so it won't be locked. But try to get this from your reference point as straight as you think you have it before you remove it. Because then when you install your new steering wheel, if you don't have it on by a spline, it will be off. Actually, before you remove it, go ahead and disconnect your harness here. There we go. Disconnected. And be careful not to mess those up. And then there's nothing else. There is the connection for my heated steering wheel, because this car came with heated steering wheel. And the reason you need that business card, let me show you that, or this card, is because when you're installing it, you want this cable to sit flat inside there. It's a flat designed cable, and it's designed to sit in and bend, connect to the back of the steering wheel like that. That's how it's designed to sit. So when you're pushing it in, use a card like this to slide it in there so that it does get in its groove and it doesn't bind up the steering wheel, because your airbag, because your airbag is also your horn. It needs to go in and out. So that's off. This is off. Now we can work on this. Get a breaker bar, easiest way to do it, and try to hold it with your legs or your hand and break it loose. After you break it loose with your breaker bar, then you put your trill on here and just so you can pull your nut off, but be careful that the steering wheel doesn't come off. Still has Loctite on there, so you don't need to add anymore. We'll just set that aside for now. Now what you need to do before you remove this is mark the center of what your steering wheel and the center of your spline shaft. Now the steering wheel already has a mark on it. All I did was highlight it with a Sharpie. The spline shaft did not. So years ago I used a scribe and I scribed in what I think is the center. And anytime I've installed and removed the steering wheel, most time I'm not off by that much. But look how close the splines are. So you can be off by one spline and the steering wheel can be off. So that's why you want to get this, you want to zoom out and look at it really well and make sure you're as centered as you can possibly be. Most of the time I get this pretty close. Once in a while I will get the steering wheel off. So right now it's dead center, I think. Let's get the new one on. This is the nerve-wracking part, because you got to pull the steering wheel and not move the spline. Whew. And do not turn that. That is your clock spring. You don't want to turn your clock spring. I'm talking about this. You can move it a little bit. See, the clock spring, the spine doesn't move. Clock spring moves a little. Do not turn that all the way around, because then your clock spring will be off and you'll break it. All right, grab your original steering wheel or spare steering wheel, or if you're upgrading to the paddle steering wheel, and try to center this up as best you can. So I'm going to put the camera down just for a second so I can install this as center as I can. Another thing I have on this one, because this is the factory one, this is the center mount. See that? Center notch. It's not painted. I didn't put paint on it because you can see it clearly, but it actually points up. So that's my center notch. So if I line that center up with what I marked as the center on my spline, it should be centered up. So you saw that I put it on twice. I put it on, I didn't like the way it was looking, so I took it back off. I felt like it was already a little crooked to the left, so I took it back off and centered it back up. So now what I'll do is I'll do everything in reverse. Install my bolt here. I'm gonna hand install it. Do not use a drill or anything like it. And I'll go get a socket and a ratchet, and I'll ratchet this in the rest of the way, and then we'll torque it at the end. Next thing I want to do is connect this. Now you see there's a lot of pins in there, so be careful and connect this as straight as you can. It's a little challenging, but it's doable. So I got it on there as square as I think I can get it on there, and then it'll just glide in. There, now it's locked in place. All right, the next thing I'm going to connect is my heater. So let's put the heater on, which is right here. Pretty simple shape of it. You can't install it wrong. But like everything else in here, there's not a lot of space. Done. Heater's connected. Next and last thing you can connect is your airbag. So the torque for this is 34. I went and got a shorter extension. So the torque for this is 34 foot-pounds. Now that we have it all torqued up, now we will install our airbag. This is the part that starts to make me nervous. And you can't install this wrong because you see the shape of it. So these connectors only go on one way. Can't accidentally put them on the wrong way. See, it has a flat spot right there, and that one has a tooth. So you can't mix them if you wanted to, and the tooth and the flat spot. And then if you look here, the flat spot will go over the yellow one, and the tooth will slot into that one. That one looks like an angry little guy. This guy's like kind of angry, kind of like shocked, probably because his haircut. That guy just looks mad angry. So let me connect these real quick. I need 2 hands, so I'm going to put the camera down for just a second while I connect them, and then I'll show you how they lock. All right, so you align these, they'll drop right in. Make sure they're seated all the way down to the base, and then just lock them in place. That's first click, right? It's not all the way down. That's the second click. That's how you know it's locked. Same thing with the other one. First click. It's not all the way down. Now it's all the way down and locked. And to be sure, just look at the base of them. Make sure they're all the way sitting flush. And connect your ground cable, and then we'll start sliding this thing in. So just kind of set it in there at first. Line this up. See, there's a flat spot. So you can't go in wrong. Line up the flat spot. And just kind of let it sit there for a second under its own weight. So here's the technique that I've tried. I got it mostly in there. Slide the card in and out, back and forth. Make sure the cable's all the way in. And then push in your airbag. If it doesn't want to go, it's not lined up right. Take that out. Does your airbag spring back? No. So that means I got to pop it back out. So I can tell you just by looking at it, see how it's sitting in? It's stuck in there. That's not right. And it's not springing back. So it's stuck. Now, before I yank it out, I can try this trick. See if I can get the cable in the right place. And if I can, it may release it. Nope. So I'm gonna have to pop it back out. No big deal. All right, this is how it should be. See how it springs back? It sits flush with the edge. I was having issues, and I know why. Let me flip it around, and I'm going to show you what the problem was. The problem was the engagement here on these hooks. This is the back of the airbag. This leads right here. The engagement of these hooks was not correct. And the reason the engagement of the hooks was not correct is that little silver bar that they hook into. Let me pop the airbag out real quick, and I'll show you. So if we look inside, you see the bar right here. And on this side, you see it right here. Those were not there. When I removed this plastic trim to paint it the first time, and then I reinstalled it, and I never checked that. The other thing I was doing was, well, am doing, whatever. When I reinstalled this plastic trim, I did not put these cables in the right places. So you see this is for the heater. And if you look behind it, there's a slot for it. This should be behind this. This is where it's supposed to be, but that is wrong. So I actually was pinching this because it was hanging out over here as I was pushing in. That's why my airbag would not go in. Now that we fixed this, I've got this in the groove it's supposed to be, kind of. It'll be out of the way. I should be able to get the airbag in the right time, the first time. Now, let's give it a shot. So the steering wheel install was a total fail. Not because I don't know how to install it, because I've done this many times. I went from the standard steering wheel to a GT steering wheel that was silver, sold that, went back to the standard, went to the steering wheel that's in the car now, which is the carbon fiber one, which I love. And so this is probably, I don't know how many times I've put the steering wheel on and off, many times. So let me show you what's failed. I don't know what's failed. Actually, it's got to be something to do with this plastic, this trim. For some reason, when the steering wheel kept going in here, it was getting jammed every single time. It didn't matter that it had the cable like that. I even cut this plastic down here at the bottom so that I could get that the heating element wires past that and put them in the spot they're supposed to be in, and they are in the correct spot. But for whatever reason, it does not want to work. The buttons work, the airbags work, all the connections work, but the airbag was getting jammed. I have to replace this whole front fascia plastic trim piece probably to get it to work right. So at that point, you got to buy a new one. If you're going to buy a new one, you might as well buy a whole nother steering wheel. So this steering wheel, unfortunately, is now scrap. It's actually, there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly fine, but this trim, this stuff here, needs to be replaced because for whatever reason, it's preventing the airbag from locking in and springing back. So instead of that, we've got our regular airbag, our regular GT steering wheel, our carbon steering wheel on, and see how it goes in and out? That's how it should work. I've already tested it, so I'm just gonna leave this thing on. I'm not gonna take it off. In the future, I'm gonna look for something like this with heat added, but I'm not gonna take this off again to put that one back on. That one is now scrap. I'm probably gonna sell it on eBay. If you're interested, I'm gonna list it on eBay. I don't know what I'm gonna list it for, $100 maybe, or something like that. Or maybe I'll replace this piece here, and once I replace this piece, then I'll list it on eBay. We'll see. I have no idea what I'm gonna do yet, because now we're gonna see, did I get the steering wheel straight the second, third, or fourth, whatever time it was that I installed it, which most of the time I don't. Probably 75% of the time when I've done this, I have to come and redo the steering wheel. So we're gonna see in a few minutes if I got the steering wheel straight. We're also gonna go to Motor Corsa and go look at my Ducati that's on consignment. Still available for purchase if anybody wants a good Christmas present, and it's red, just like Christmas. So that's available to purchase. We'll go look at that, and then we'll see what else they have in the showroom. I'm taking Cordelia with me. Now we're on the highway, or as my English friends would say, the motorway, and it's pretty straight. I think I got it the first time, which is very rare for me to get something straight on the first try. And as you can tell, yes, it's raining. This is what Portland looks like in the winter. Sometimes it snows, most of the time it's rain. I'm one of those people that I put the right tires on it for the weather, and then I drive the car all year round. I don't store it. Don't even ask me what you're supposed to do to store your car for winter. I have no idea. I drive it. Snow, rain, sleet, ice, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna drive my car every single day. And this is why I already have 85,000 miles on it, and I'm gonna have a lot more. Horn work? Let's check. Yep, horn works just fine. This is Motor Corsa, Ducati's Portland premier dealership. Just across the street from them is turn 2. That's where my bike is right now. We got her dirty. We got her properly dirty. So right now, both turn 2, which is the used inventory, and Motor Corsa, which is right here, is having an F the weather sale. That's right, because of this weather, they're like, F the weather, we have a sale, come buy a motorcycle. And they're good guys. They treat you like family. Come buy a motorcycle. So they got the Christmas decorations up already, as you can see. First you walk in, there's a Diavolo V4 in red. What's more Ducati than a red Diavolo? Then the showroom is right now, it's lit up with all kinds of bikes. Most of the bikes are going to be red. You got some Street Fighters, you got some Panigales, you got this one in the red room. That's what they call this. The red room is where you take delivery of your new bike when you get one. Or even the used ones. They will put you in the red room and take a picture of you. There's the Pike Peaks edition of the Multistrada. That's the previous generation of the Pikes Peak. That's the new generation of the Pikes Peak. I really like the scheme on the new one better than
than the old one, but they both look good. There's the RS. The RS is basically a track bike. It does not have. It has a version of the V4, I think, or something like that, but they went back to Desmotronic or something like that. So if you want something that you don't have the service valve, so 30-something thousand miles, then you buy this one. This is the first time I've seen the V4S in black. That is beautiful. What a good choice. So they are tall bikes. They are very tall bikes, but that also means they have a lot of suspension travel, so you're always comfortable. And stock, you get heated seats front and back. So really, really, really nice bikes. Lots of multi-stratas, new ones in there. There's a Diavel V4. I haven't seen this scheme before. Flat black with the neon yellow or green or highlighter green, whatever color you want to call it. It's got the big fat intakes on the side. It's kind of a muscle cruising looking bike, but then right next to it is the new X Diavel. This one, the color, the video and the camera does not do it justice. This color is called burnt red, and it's actually a lot darker than the camera showing it up. It has a metallic flake in it. It's really, really beautiful. It's sleek. Now it shares the same power plant as the Diavel, and I think the swing arm as well, but something else is, there's a couple other little details that are different. The wheelbase is longer. This one is called Black Lava. It looks kind of purplish, but you got to see this in the sun. It changes colors. It has like a pearl to it. I absolutely love it. The TFT screen, so much bigger than it used to be. It gives you so much more information. It's little details in the headlights. I didn't see this at first. I had to take a double look. That is pretty awesome inside the headlamp. It's a sweet bike. Here's a Diavel V4 with the, I think this is Akrapovic or Termi. I can't remember what exhaust this is. It's a beautiful exhaust. The design of it, they took it from like a P51 Mustang. That's the style they were going for. And this actually does not sound as loud as the Terminoni on the previous Diavel and X Diavel that was a 1260 2-cylinder. Because it's a 4-cylinder, it sounds so much better. Here's some scramblers. So if you just want to commute, get around town, they've got lots of scramblers. Affordable Ducati bike, comfortable, doesn't have a ton of power. This is pretty cool. The X is built into the headlight from the factory, so you don't have to put tape on it. There's some Desert X's that they have in the showroom. This is the first version of it with that kind of frosted white or whatever color. I don't know what the real name color is. And then here's all their race bikes. Look at the wings on this thing. It kind of looks like a catfish, but the aero on these bikes is insane. And then when you turn around and you look in front of you, the naked bikes, the Street Fighters. This one with the wings, I can't remember exactly what model it is. And you guys can burn me. I'm more of a Porsche guy than I am a Ducati guy. But Street Fighters, the naked Street Fighters, I would absolutely ride a naked Street Fighter. Now we're across the street at Turn 2 Motorcycles. I've seen this bike before. I think it's a Z1000 or a Ninja 1000. I almost bought one a couple years ago, but there's some X Diavels, Gen 1 X Diavels that I've had before. There's a bunch of monsters lined up right here, a Scrambler. Here's some more Panigales and Street Fighters. And then on the back row is all the adventure bikes. We walk around these to the other side. What is this? This is a monster, a couple of more monsters. So a lot of these bikes are demo bikes or consignment bikes or something they got from a different dealership. There is my bike. I know it because of the Corbin seat that's on it. It's got the hard bags. It's beautiful. It's absolutely mint. Only 4,000 miles on it. I barely rode it. The bike is like new condition. As I'm looking at it, I'm like, I kind of want to take it home. Kind of want to go into the office and say, all right, here's my money for the consignment fee and the inspection, and I'm just going to ride my bike home. Very, very, very tempted to do that right now. This is the wireless charger that I put on there, so I can just put my phone on there and it starts charging. Storage unit, you can see that's where the USB plugs in for that wireless charger. And one of the silly mods that I did was take off the yellow reflectors that DOT makes you put on. See how the other bikes have yellow reflectors and mine does not?
Good news, bad news. Gordo, you want to tell them the bad news or the good news first? No? Neither one? All right, you look out the window. I'll tell them the good news, bad news. So, Good news is I did something that I probably should have done a year ago. I just held out as long as I possibly could, and almost did something stupid, but then I had the willpower to not do it. I'll give you that's the good news. Let me tell you the bad news, and then I'll come back to the good news. So the bad news is I sold the motorcycle. It's gone. It's no longer mine. I no longer have a Ducati. Will I have another Ducati? Abso-freaking-lutely I'll have another Ducati. And I almost can't wait to get another Ducati. But we're not going to have one right now. That frees me up to give 100% attention to the Porsche and stop thinking about the Ducati and motorcycle in the back of my mind. I still have my motorcycle gear. I still have a really nice helmet that I'm not going to sell because I'm going to use it in the future. But now that's one thing off my mind. I don't have the pressure of that debt, the pressure of that payment. I can just focus on everything else in life and my car. It was not an easy decision to make. I really wanted, this is where I had willpower. I really considered trading it. I could trade it and then buy a brand new Ducati. And I really, really like those X Diavos, the new ones. The Diavo V4 is also really nice. Actually, the seat is more comfortable on the Diavo V4 than the X Diavo. But the X Diavo is just, it's a beautiful work of art. Is it gonna suck that I don't have a motorcycle? Yes. It's a different experience, and unless you ride motorcycles, you can't really understand that. Do not fear. I'm not gonna do the same thing with the Porsche. The Porsche is going anywhere. The Porsche is staying right here. It will not be sold. For example, in the last 3 years I've had a motorcycle. I've done maybe 3,000 miles on a motorcycle. In the last 3 years I've had the Porsche 911. I've had it for 5 years, but in the last 3 years, I've probably done over 30,000 miles in the 911. Why? Because I like it better. It's nicer. I get more smiles per miles in the 911 than I did riding that motorcycle. I don't mean motorcycle in general, because my previous motorcycles, I drove the living crap out of them. I put almost 30,000 miles on one. I put about almost 20,000 miles on the other. This previous one I had was just the one that rode the least. I really didn't enjoy it like I thought I would. So, but the Porsche is going nowhere. The other reason the Porsche is going nowhere is because these cars keep going up in value. They might go down a little bit, but over the long term, they continue to rise in value. So why the hell would I ever get rid of it? It's just going to continue to appreciate. Another reason I prefer the Porsche, I can take my dog with me everywhere. I can't do that on the motorcycle. I can drive the Porsche day, night, summer, winter, snow, doesn't matter. I can't do that on the motorcycle. In many ways, riding a motorcycle is a mental therapy that I needed in my life. The last 5 years I was at my previous job, I needed a lot of mental therapy, and the motorcycle was my escape. I had the Porsche at the same time, but like I said, it's not the same thing. That once we get back to the house, we're gonna wash the car because you see what the weather's like outside. I need to wash the car and have it clean and then dry it off. Then we will apply the graphene ceramic coat from Adams Polish onto the car. And then I don't remember, but there is a cure time. You clean it and prep it and then apply the ceramic coat. The car needs to stay in the garage for a certain amount of time so the ceramic coat cures. Well, shit. So my Adams Polish graphene ceramic coat was delivered. Teeny tiny problem. It was delivered to me, but not here. It was delivered to my office in Boise, Idaho. Only problem is, I'm in Portland, Oregon. Which sucks because now the best time to do a ceramic coat on your car is after you've polished it. So the ceramic coat will be here tomorrow, but I'm not going to put it in this video because this video is already too long. So I'll put it in the next video. I want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you guys next week.